Paul, what's compute governance and why does it matter?
When we think about arms control, one of the places where there's potentially really good purchase on the problem is in looking at compute. So the computing hardware underlying AI systems. And it seems like the element of the AI stack where there's most potential to actually limit access potentially. Algorithms, for example, are going to be really widely available. And supply chains right now are concentrated in a couple of key nodes and choke points that are actually largely controlled by either the United States or close US allies and partners. Between the United States, Taiwan, South Korea, the Netherlands, Japan, they control a lot of the underlying technology behind semiconductors and hardware that's needed in AI. And this sort of, you know, geopolitical reality intersects with the fact that in AI, we've seen, of course, this huge growth in computing hardware needed for training these very large models, for compute intensive models. And so that suggests, is there an opportunity for thinking about governing compute in a way that might help restrict access, if you needed to dangerous AI capabilities in the future to some actors? So there's this phenomenon that's been occurring as we've seen this growth in compute intensive machine learning, where the number of actors that can access cutting edge machine learning has been shrinking over time. And it's usually a big criticism of the field where researchers are saying, look, university researchers can't get access to the compute needed to train these large models. And all of it's being concentrated in the hands of, a small number of companies or research labs. It's no surprise that two of the leading AI research labs, actually three of the main ones, right? OpenAI, DeepMind, and Google Brain, all are backed by major multinationals with very deep pockets. Um, from the standpoint of democratizing the technology and research, that's a problem. From the standpoint of limiting access to it, if you're worried about people doing bad things, that trend is beneficial. Doesn't mean those actors are necessarily the ideal ones, but that trend suggests there might be ways to govern the technology, and that's something that we're interested in, again, actively exploring. We actually have a new project that we're launching at CNAS to better understand this, to figure out, are there ways we can potentially, as we see the technology evolving and just see governments getting really involved in industrial policy for semiconductors. Just the last few weeks, the United States government passed a major bill levying over $50 billion in subsidies for the semiconductor industry, reshoring fabs to the United States, investing in R&D, and a little bit quieter, but also very significant increased export controls on semiconductor manufacturing equipment to China. And so, how do these political realities intersect with the technology and where AI is going? And that's what we want to better understand.